Welcome to GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, aka the Going North Podcast, where authors from around the world help you realize that success is tangible. You'll leave with at least one new piece of inspiration or information to help you keep going north. Now let's get on with the show. Today's episode is sponsored by the book that will empower you, encourage you, and through its expression help you to advance to your next level. Stay the Course, The Elite Performers, 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success by this guy right here you're hearing. And the good news is you can now hear the book on audiobook. So head over to Amazon.com or Audible.com or Apple Music, pick up the audiobook. And that's today's sponsor. Go out and buy a copy or a few of Stay the Course, The Elite Performers, 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success, and advance north to your next level of greatness. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as the GMP, that's right folks, the GMP, y'all, the Going North Podcast. It's the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous. And today we got a ghost, y'all, that's right. Who needs to wait for Halloween/Samhain to have some ghosts on the show, y'all? That's right. It's like freaking Razor Ramon and NWO, the black and white, the sunglasses walking up like, ooh. That's right, folks. Because today's guest in particular, my goodness, you're in for a treat that's good enough to eat for all seasons and holidays. Because today's guest is a ghostwriter for Rebels, Renegades, and Mavericks. So my goodness, we got some of those on this show as a listener, heck, even past guests as well. A former philosophy professor who fled academia because of all the BS involved there. But the good news is, thanks to her being a professor, she still loves teaching, researching, and working one-on-one with her students. And this has fully equipped her like a level 99 RPG character with killer research skills, and the ability to shine a light on complex subject matter, which has both come in handy for ghostwriting and content strategizing. And since she's launched her business, she's worked with dozens, you heard that right folks, dozens of not just eggs, but clients ranging from professionals in medicine and finance with disruptive philosophies to powerhouse CEOs who are sick and tired of the status quo to mountain climbers with harrowing survival stories to share. So let's give it up for the owner and decider of all things at the Pocket PhD herself, Miss E.C. herself, Miss Caring and Electrifying Emily Crookston. How you doing today, Emily?
Great. Love that introduction. I've never had such a dynamic introduction. I love it. Thanks so much, Dom. I appreciate you having me on the show. Glad to be here.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's just one of the better parts of the show, the introduction, and then out of nowhere, the guest's like, all right, cool, let's get to this story. It's like, no, we're going to go to this rabbit hole where we're going to be talking about, stuff like penguins and cherry pie. And you're like, huh? Okay, that's...
Whatever. I'm here for it. Let's do it.
Oh, man. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. My goodness. Well, as you know, with all introductions, though, no matter how good and dynamic they are, it probably only covered maybe 2% of it. So mind filling in the cavities of what I missed about the wonderful Emily herself, the good doctor?
Sure. Yes. The company is the Pocket PhD. That's my kind of callback to my former life as a philosophy professor. But what I do day to day is help business owners and experts and professionals write business books. And by business books, what I mean is business development, personal development. So things like thought leadership type books that you might think of. So I help people, get those ideas that are stuck in their heads out onto the page and into the hands of their fans. In addition to, in addition to the book writing stuff and book editing, I also do. I help with LinkedIn. So since the pandemic hit, networking has been really tough, and networking was a huge part of my business prior to the pandemic. So I really shifted all of my networking efforts to LinkedIn. And in the process of doing that, I learned a lot. So I thought, hey, I can offer LinkedIn services as well. So I do content strategy and content creation for LinkedIn.
So talking about indeed. And clever name, Pocket PhD, a PhD in your pocket. So what was the thought process behind that name? Because it's freaking cool.
Thanks. Yeah, I love the name too. And, over the years, I've had people say, oh, that's a terrible name, Pocket PhD. No one knows what that is, and I always thought, well, did you know that Nike sold shoes when you heard the name Nike? You don't have your business name doesn't always have to tell you, be so, literal, I think. But I was, when I started the business, and anytime you start a business, you can't know exactly where that business is heading. And so I wanted a name that would give me some room to grow. And I knew that at some point, or I thought at some point, I might like to hire other PhDs, have them as part of my writing department or my writing stable, something like that. So I wanted a name that I could use as almost an agency type name. I didn't know, honestly, that I would stick with ghostwriting. When I first started, I was doing blogging, exclusively blog writing for people. And, in fact, ghostwriting as a term didn't even come into my my mind until several months into owning the business. So yeah, I wanted a name that would give me space to grow, but I also wanted to sort of connect with that past identity of being a PhD. I wanted my clients to know that I'm a smarty pants, and I can actually write their books, that all of that stuff. So I think that's all in the name.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And that's probably like a reminder for folks. It's like, hey, be careful who you tell your plans to because they may have some stupid ideas. It's like pocket PhD. Like, do you know how clever that is? Like, hey, a pocket PhD. You know how many folks would like to have a PhD in their freaking pocket, y'all? That's right. It's like, I know a doctor, y'all. It's like, I go to a doctor too. Nah, you go to a doctor. I know a doctor.
Right. A doctor wrote my book. Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
Oh, yeah. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness, so with all this writing, did you ever see yourself as like a philosophy professor growing up as a little girl, like when you're like 13? Like, was that even on your radar?
No, it's so funny. I didn't know philosophy was even what it was. I didn't know what it was until I went to college. And then I went to a liberal arts school. We had to take either philosophy or religion. And I said, well, I know what religion is. I don't know what philosophy is. Maybe I'll take that. And I, took philosophy 101, and it was an ethics class, intro to ethics. And I discovered that, you can talk about right and wrong. You can talk about all of these questions of moral judgment outside of the context of religion. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool, because all I thought about when I thought about religious debates were, really nasty, really harsh and mean, and well, my God is sending you to hell, or whatever the
Mm-hmm.
story is. And so it just, philosophy kind of opened up a whole new world to me, and I thought that was really cool. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a philosophy professor. And everybody thought I was crazy. And it was a lot more schooling, kept going. I finished with my PhD in 2009, so it was like 10 years after I started undergrad, something like that. So yeah, it's crazy to think of how much my mindset has shifted over the course of those years. And when I was ready to leave academia, that was exactly the question I asked. Well, what did I want to do when I was 13? What did I want to do before I wanted to become a philosophy professor? Because I made that decision at 18, and so it was just hard to even conceive of what I wanted at that age. And so I said, well, when I was 13, I thought marketing was cool. And a friend was looking for some marketing help, and so I just kind of, I didn't even know what marketing was. I was like, she kind of educated me around all the different facets of marketing. And she owns a web development company. She needed blog posts, and she had clients who needed blog posts. So that's how I fell into ghostwriting. But yeah, I didn't have dreams of becoming a philosophy professor when I was a kid. Although, I will say, like, my dad is a philosopher at heart. And, part of why I think I was drawn to it was he would always ask us questions, and he would never let us off the hook. There was always another question, and what you learned today, these kinds of questions all the time coming at me. And yeah, looking back, I can see how that made me hungry for that kind of discussion and debate.
Ah, makes sense. So it looks like it's stemming from the good pops right there. That's what I'm talking about.
Totally. Yeah.
Ah, yeah. That's right indeed, because funny enough, it's actually interesting. Like at 13, wanted to do some marketing. By default, you're basically marketing since you're, you're a business
Yes.
owner now.
Yeah. Talk about, getting to do marketing. Yeah. Yeah. And it's really funny because, I never call myself a copywriter because I think writing copy is a whole separate thing. I'm really good at long form writing. I'm, a 1,200 word blog post. Yes, that's my jam. But short, choppy, as clever as the name of my business is, that was my most clever idea ever. Like I don't come up with short, snappy headlines very quickly. Headlines are the hardest thing that I have to write, I would say. So I don't even think of myself as being in the marketing space so much anymore, but the strategy around marketing is cool. And of course I do my own marketing. So yeah.
Ah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Heck, and since LinkedIn's basically been your wheelhouse, what's been working for you on that platform? Because because it's been really the main platform for folks that need to use if you're a business owner and not just
Mhm.
of the old 2009 mindset. Oh yeah, let me go there look for jobs. Like nah, it's a
Right.
whole lot different. I think even one guest
Yes.
said LinkedIn's like the more happier, more professional version of Facebook now because the way things
Mhm.
are.
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, you're so right. Like a lot of people have misconceptions about LinkedIn because they are thinking of it as what it was in 2009 or before that, like a place to find jobs or a place to find job candidates, right, if you own a business. But yeah, I think of it as a 24/7 networking site. And I think if you keep that as your goal for how you use LinkedIn, then you can't go wrong. It's a place to find people, like minded people, start conversations. It's a place to start building relationships. Um, as far as using it as a billboard where you're going to promote your services and sell it, I think it's less effective that way unless you build a huge audience. And you can do that on LinkedIn. It takes time. It takes more time to build an audience on LinkedIn than I would say on Facebook back in the old days when people were putting their business pages up on Facebook. It takes longer than building an audience on Instagram, I think. But the reason it takes longer is because I think your audience on LinkedIn is more engaged. People are less likely to connect with you just to hit that button. They're going to look at your profile. They're going to maybe look at your website. They're going to figure out what you're about before they connect with you. And I think that's why it takes more time to build that audience. But I find it to be just like the perfect place for networking. I get so much more networking done online than going to, 10 networking events in my local area. I'm not just limited, obviously, to meeting people in North Carolina or even, Raleigh, North Carolina. I can meet people all across the world on LinkedIn. And I have, that's been the best for me. I used to get all of my clients through referrals back in the beginning of my business. And that's why networking was so huge for me. Now I get most of my referrals on LinkedIn. I get a lot of leads through the site now. And what it takes to be successful is you need to put out content that your audience likes, and you need to be there consistently because that's what the algorithm likes. It wants to see you on the site, wants to see you interacting, engaging with other people. And as long as you're doing that, it's going to show love to your posts and show your posts to other people.
Oh yeah, that's right. P2P, post to other people, y'all. That's what I'm talking about indeed. That's right indeed.
Yes.
Yep, and as you were talking, saying folks look at your profile, and I thought to myself, you know what? She's actually right. Because even though I still get pitched a lot when folks reach out to connect with me, at least they don't ask me the stupid question like they do on Facebook when they do it. What do you do?
Right. Yes, you don't have to answer that question very often on LinkedIn. That's true. Hmm.
It's like they both try to sell you, but on LinkedIn, at least they made an effort to look.
Yeah, in most cases. Yeah, for sure, for sure. I still get, some spam. I mean, that I think that comes with every social media platform that you use. And I just mainly ignore those things. And I don't find it's not overwhelming by any means to me, anyway. But yeah, I find it a really nice place to learn about business, to share my thoughts about business, and just a great place for me to go every day and check in and tell people what I'm up to.
That's right. She's up to going north in more ways than one, y'all. That's what I'm talking about, indeed.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. And speaking of more than one, if I'm not mistaken, I guess you're actually a second generation entrepreneur. Since your dad was an entrepreneur too, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, another way he's influenced me besides sending me in the philosophy direction. It's really funny to think about it because, even when I left academia, my plan wasn't to start a business. My plan was to try to find a job. But coming from academia, what I appreciated the most about it was having time flexibility. I could decide basically when I wanted to do my courses, and then the rest of my time, I was my own boss essentially. I had to figure out how to do my research and get ready for my classes and do my grading, but all of that was up to me. And so thinking that about going into a 9 to 5 kind of situation where I had 3 weeks off a year or something sounded really soul sucking. And so somebody suggested, well, after I had been doing this blog writing for this person who became essentially my mentor, at some point she said to me, you could start a business. And I thought, oh, that would solve some of my problems. But I think it's funny that it never occurred to me before that moment, given that my dad was an entrepreneur. And I think it's because, I'm the oldest of 5 kids. I was there basically. He started the business when I was maybe, I don't know, 6, 7 years old. So I remember pretty well all the ups and downs of starting a business and running a business, and all the weekends spent stressing over, is this job going to come through? Is this, my dad installs sound systems. Well, he's retired now, but he used to install speakers and microphones, right? Is this speaker going to come in on time so that I can install it next week for this customer? All of that stress I remember really vividly. And so I think that was, I kind of subconsciously had this block about starting a business. But starting a business in 2016 when I started is very different from starting a business in 1987 like, with the
Mm-hmm.
internet. Having an online business is, you a lot of those worries that he had, marketing, getting in the phone book, having your ad in the phone book, a lot of those things are just not important anymore and not part of my world. So I think I found the road to starting a business a lot easier, in fact, than I expected. And I think the biggest thing about it is, like, when I started my business, I was just like, please, somebody just tell me the steps. I'm really good at following the rules, like, I need the syllabus to starting a business. I'm a student at heart, like, just somebody teach me how to do this. And once I sort of let go of that as a, safety blanket or whatever need, once I realized, somebody said to me, you got to think of your business as an experiment. And that's when the light bulb went off for me. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm just trying things here. It might not work out, and that's okay. I sort of let go of that fear of, like, I'm gonna fail. If this doesn't work, I'm gonna fail. More like, if this doesn't work, then you pivot and you do something different. And that's been really helpful. It's given me a big sense of calm in around the business.
Yeah, that's right. A sense of calm indeed. That's what I'm talking about. So 2016. So your business started in 2016, not
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
2016. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
the LinkedIn stuff started in 2020 with the pandemic and everything.
Uh,
Yes, yes. But the ghostwriting and blogging started earlier. Yeah, it's been an evolution. The business has shifted for sure.
sweet. That's what I'm talking about indeed. So she started off as A wonderful giant walking tome. That's right. Now, soon she'll be a whole library. Oh, that's right. That's
There you go. I like that. Yes. Yes.
yes, indeed. And that's really a powerful way of thinking about it, seeing your business as an experiment, because it is true. Like, especially now, it's never been so easy to start a business, market, and promote your business nowadays. But also, with starting your own business, you have to stay focused and really stay on your P's and
Mhm.
Q's and get creative as time moves on, like jumping on LinkedIn. Like that's the social media that still generates some great stuff for people. So my goodness, so what are three major lessons you've learned from being in business for 5 years?
Mm, great question. Um, Number one, I would say, as we were talking, right? Think of your business as an experiment. That's the best way to think of it. Remember that, every no mistake is the end of the world. You can always change direction. You can always change course. You really are here to just, play around and take the data and figure out, what your next move should be. Yeah. So I would also say the second lesson, no decision you make is the end of the world, right? We tend to think in the moment that this decision is the biggest decision ever, right? It weighs on us and it feels really big. But when we zoom out, when we think about will this decision matter to me in 10 years? Will this decision matter to me in 5 years? Right? Will I even remember today? 10 years down the road, right? It's this decision might feel big in the moment. Should I hire someone? Should I, which of these candidates should I hire? Right? Sure, it matters to this person, it's big for them and it's big for you in the moment, but in the grand scheme of things, if you hire somebody who doesn't work out, you get somebody else in 2 weeks. It's not the end of the world. It's not a decision. You're not setting something up in stone that you can never change, no matter what decision you're making, right? Should I sell let go of my office space and move the business back home? You can always find a new office space in another year or in 6 months when things are different. So that's the second lesson. In the third lesson, I would say, have fun. I mean, the reason that I started a business was really because it meant flexibility. It meant freedom for me, right? I didn't want to have a boss. I didn't enjoy having a boss when I was in academia. I wanted to be the boss. But it's easy for us as business owners coming out of corporate or coming out of academia or whatever your background is to kind of recreate the systems that are comfortable for us. And I think every once in a while as a business owner, you have to step back and say, is this really the way I want to do business? Have I created a job for myself or am I really the CEO of my business? And especially as a solopreneur, I felt that a lot. Yes, all I did was build an 80-hour a week job for myself, and my goal is to work 20 hours a week and make a decent salary. That's the end goal. That's where I'm headed. And so I had the realization at some point last year, I can't do this all on my own. I need to hire some people. I need, if I want to give myself that time and be able to focus on the stuff that I enjoy doing in the business, the ghostwriting, and the book ghostwriting is what I love to do. So I need to hire some people to help me with the LinkedIn side. That's the way to go with it. So, just whatever it takes, ask yourself these questions, like what will it take for me to enjoy this job that I've created? What will it take for me to enjoy running my business? And work toward those goals, make that part of your strategy. So yeah, that's what I would say.
That's what I'm talking about indeed. Three solid tips indeed, especially the fun piece, because my goodness, like, especially being a solopreneur, when you said the 80 hours a week, it reminded me of this meme. It probably pops up every now and then on my feed every 6 or 9 months or so. It's like, yeah, uh, entrepreneurs are folks that basically are scared to work 40 hours, so they work 80 hours.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yes, yes, yes. How many times do you think as an entrepreneur, man, it'd be so much easier if I didn't have to do the marketing and I didn't have to wear all these hats. I just had to come to my desk and work work my 8 hours a day and go home. Yeah, for sure, for sure. But there's that, that's the trade-off. It's like freedom versus security, and I think at some point, and that's why I became a professor in the first place. I really wanted that security. And it's a clear track. You get on the tenure track, you get tenure after 6 years, and then you're set for life. You have that job until you die or until you retire. That's security. That's the definition of it. But at some point, you start to realize, what does security really mean? I mean, whole philosophy departments in universities go away sometimes because of budget cuts or whatever. So how secure is that, lifetime tenure position that you get? And what are you trading in exchange for that security? Are you ever going to have a raise, right? Is your salary capped at a certain point? How do you, as an ambitious person, right? How do you satisfy that part of yourself where you want to improve, you want to feel that you're climbing something, you're going north, right? How do you, find that in whatever position you have? And sometimes it's just not there. And for me, that was a deal breaker. It's just like, I'm not getting anywhere here. It's time to move on. But that's the thing about owning a business, is it's like the most fun problem you're ever going to solve. Every day is a new problem to solve. And if you can get comfortable with that, like, that's what comes with the freedom of owning your own business and being the owner and decider of all things. It's you've got to be able to take on that burden. The burden is different than when you are working for somebody else. But if you're comfortable in that space, then there's nothing better.
Oh yeah, that's right indeed. That's right indeed. Definitely better and not butter indeed. That's right. That's right indeed. Got to break through those ceilings indeed. It's like, I'm tired of these ceilings, darn it. I ain't living in no
Yeah.
house. Like, my income isn't in a house.
Right.
Income is in the freaking universe, y'all. It's abundance.
There you go. Yes, abundance. Yes. That's right. The sky's the limit.
Oh
True.
yeah.
Mhm.
Until they tell you that there's footprints on the moon. That's right.
Yes.
Oh man. So since this was far from your first rodeo, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often when you're on the magical guest side of the game on these podcasts?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I always like to ask people, or I always like to be asked, if you're thinking about starting a business, for example, like, it's a good question to ask other business owners. What do you wish you knew before you started your business? And I think that my answer to that question is, I wish I'd known how much freedom I was going to have, I think, ahead of time. Because I think when you start, you're feeling really overwhelmed because you have to do everything. Everything feels urgent. Everything needs to be done. You got to find the clients. You got to figure out your website. You got to do the marketing. You got to, deliver on whoever you already are working with. All those things can feel really overwhelming. And I think I wish I'd known that I have the freedom to take my time to figure things out. I wish I'd known that you don't actually have to get all of these things done right now. As much as every business guru who's talking is saying, this is the most important thing, this is the most important thing, this is, it's not true. And you need to, slowing down is almost always a good idea when you're feeling overwhelmed. Just taking a step back and saying, where am I trying to go in this year? Right? I'm not trying to go from $0 to $1 million. So if I'm listening to the business gurus who are talking to the $1 million business owners, or the people who are at 500K trying to get to $1 million, then that's the wrong person for me to be listening to in this moment. Right? I need to be figuring out where I'm trying to go in the next 6 months or the next year, and find the experts who are talking to me at that level. So I think in the beginning, I just wanted someone to tell me where to put my resources, where to be paying attention. I just felt really scattered with all of that stuff, because I think I was listening to so many different experts coming from so many different perspectives. And it's hard in the beginning because you don't know what to do. You're looking for anything to help you get grounded and find the way forward. Um, but yeah, you can get lost listening to all those experts, and you can get lost thinking that you need to be further ahead than you are. You can get lost comparing yourself to business owners who are way further along on the path than you are, right? So it's good to look at people who are maybe a couple of years ahead of you, right? And probably no more than that. Like I'm right now looking for people who are 7-10 years in business. And those are the people that I'm trying to learn from in the moment. But I'm not looking at people who've been in business 20 years, and I'm over talking to people who are just starting their businesses, or having them be in my mastermind groups or whatever, just because I remember that place and it's not that comfortable for me to go back there. So I'm happy to give advice, but as far as what I can take forward, that's not so helpful. So I think, keeping in mind where you are versus what you're paying attention to is always a good move, good idea.
That's not a great idea indeed. And you said something really powerful there, especially with the fact that, hey, like, especially the time piece, because it's like we feel like everything is so important and urgent, got to do it now. But as you go along, it's like, yeah, not so much.
Yeah.
Not so
Well, you
freaking much.
realize that the urgency is all manufactured, right? Because these people are trying to sell their services to you. So
Hmm.
they've got to make your pain feel urgent. And yeah, I'm really susceptible to that. I don't know if I'm, more empathetic than other people or what, but when I hear a sales pitch, I'm often like, yeah, I need that, and it can be a challenge because I can be pretty impulsive that way. Like, oh, this is the greatest coach I ever met. Like, I need this person. And then, 2 weeks later, I'm like, wait, why did I think this person? What was the goal exactly? I can be easily drawn in, and I have to step back and say, okay, but what is it that I need in the moment? Is this person serving that need? And I think it's tough in the moment to pull back because you're like, oh, this is my lifeline, this is the thing that's going to do the next, bring me to the next level, and they're feeding into that. They want you to think that. And so, and it's super hard in the beginning because you just don't know anything, and everybody seems to know more than you know. Everybody seems to have the ticket. So yeah, it's, you've gotta be careful. You've got to remember that there's a ton of free resources out there if you're willing to look around a little bit, and like I'm going to talk with an online business manager next week. She's like a fractional COO, operations person. And I was telling somebody else about this yesterday, and she said, well, make sure you're going to talk to some more OBMs, not just one. And I was like, oh, right. Good idea. I should take my time with this decision. This is a big decision. So yeah, take your time with big decisions and investments, and it's great to invest in yourself and your business. And I've always had the mentality, you got to spend money to make money. And I still believe that, but you got to put your money in the right places too. And I've made some mistakes. I've bought online courses that I never looked at. People do these kinds of things all the time because of the impulsivity. But yeah, that's probably the hardest thing about running a business, is figuring out where to invest the dollars that are coming in. So yeah, it's it's an interesting thing to consider. It's an interesting challenge that comes with running a business, because as soon as you open your doors, people are coming at you trying to sell you stuff, and you got to be ready for it.
Oh yeah, I can say that again. Definitely, you're so right. It's like, hey, definitely got to put your money in the right place. It's like, hey, just put it in $ Don Bribing Cash App. I'm telling you, it's the right place to put your money in. It's perfect.
There you go. There you go. Yes.
Yes, indeed.
When in
Yep.
doubt, just keep it in your bank account. It's not going anywhere. If you have a doubt about something, just stop. Just it's all right.
Yeah, because simply say that again. It's like, just take a breather. And it's like, I should have to buy this today. I have to buy it today. And
Right,
it's like,
right.
if you wait a
Price is
day or
going up.
two.
Yeah. I always think
Oh, yeah.
that, the deal, I don't care if it's a deal, I'll buy it at double the price next year if it's really that valuable, if I really need it, but I got to make sure I really need it, so. Mhm, mhm.
And the funny part is, probably 90% of them, they're still around the following year.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's the funny
Anybody who
part
says this
about it.
is going away, I don't know when I'm offering it again. Probably not. And if that's true, there's something else that'll be better for you or just as good. That urgency, and man, it's all manufactured. It's a slick marketing trick. It's out there, but that's all it is. It's not real. There are very few problems in business that are that urgent to solve. So yeah.
That's right. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Well, coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is, if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but this time you're in the current year with all of your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
Ooh, good question. Gosh. I mean, I would tell my 25-year-old self, you are more capable than you know. When I was 25, I felt like had no confidence. I felt like everybody knew more than I knew. I felt like I couldn't ask questions that I needed to ask because I would look dumb. So yeah, that's what I would tell my 25-year-old self. You are smarter than you think you are. Asking questions is the best way to learn. No one thinks you're dumb when you ask. This is a smart question. Those are the sorts of things. It's so interesting because I often think like, philosophy, all of that time in school, all that time as a professor, that was just a waste. I'm not using any of that knowledge anymore. I sometimes think that. But then I think, well, could I have just graduated from undergrad and started my business in 2001 or 2002? And there's no way I could have done what I'm doing now at that time in my life, just because I didn't have the life experience that I have today in my 40s. So I think that's also something to keep in mind. The mindset you have at 25 is so different from how you're going to feel at another level. And you have your whole life in front of you to play around and make mistakes and figure out who you are as a person and all of that stuff. So I'd just say, you're doing fine. You're more capable than you realize, and you're going to do big things.
That's right. You're going to do it big. You're going to do a PhD big, y'all. That's right. That's right. Indeed. You're going to call yourself the good doctor. That's right. That's right. Indeed.
The doctor is in. Yes.
So, yeah. It's like, don't worry, I'm a doctor. Like, the patient's dying. Oh, so I
Not
was
that kind
talking
of
about
doctor.
this random penguin, all right?
That's right. That's right. Can't help with that, but I got this moral dilemma we could discuss. Yeah. Talk about some trolleys or something. Yeah. Totally.
Well, there's a moral dilemma out there. Folks aren't swarming to you for business yet. So for those who need to do that, what's the best way for folks to reach out to the Pocket PhD?
Yes, you can find me on my website, which is thepocketphd.com. You can, of course, find me on LinkedIn. I'm Emily Crookston, and I'm at EM Crookston on Twitter. And yeah, those are the main places to find me.
There you go. There you go, folks. So there you have it. Follow the energetic Emily, y'all. Follow her on all social medias. Reach out to her on the LinkedIn, y'all. Tell her, hey, heard you on Going North. You sound freaking fabulous. Like, hey, I got this dissertation. Oh, I got this book. Like, hey, like I need some content creation here. My light bulb is like dim right now. It should be at full 100, but it's at like 10 from all the darn itis of everything. So like I need help.
Really. Yes, I can brighten up that bulb for sure. Love it.
Ah, there you go. Probably your new tagline. I can brighten up that bulb for you.
Yeah.
That's right, 'cause she's got a good noodle on her, y'all. So any parting words before we close up shop?
Oh, I just want to thank you, Dom. It's been really fun experience here on the podcast. Appreciate you.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. The one listening right now. Thanks a bunch for sharing some of your time out of your day to listen to this podcast. To take it to the next level, be sure to share it with someone that you care about and that would get something out of this podcast too. Advance others to advance yourself.